I don't have a problem with people prioritizing something to say, okay, whether it's abortion or race, to say this is my number one issue or the one I'm paying most attention to this cycle. I think that makes sense to have a priority. The problem is when we put that priority in a vacuum.
What's up, y'all? It's your girl KB of Heart Convos, and today you are joining me and my guest in the Heart Seat, where we have conversations that are honest, elephant-sized, authentic, real, and transparent. Today's guest is Justin Giboney of the AND campaign. He's most known for his work there and has a book called Compassion and Conviction that is available to order. Coming up, they have the Prayer and Action Initiative that encourages others to pursue policy and change while equipping local churches with resources. You can get involved at prayerandactioncoalition.org. Well, without further ado, I would love to welcome Justin Giboney to the show. Justin, welcome.
Thanks for having me, KB. I'm happy to be here. Let's get into it.
Yeah, we will. And you know what? We're just going to dive straight into your first question, which is honest. And so if you were honest, what are your biggest concerns for this coming Tuesday?
Yeah, I think when it comes to November 3rd, the thing I worry about the most is that a lot of Christians, depending on the outcome, may feel hopeless thereafter. They may feel like, what am I even doing this civic engagement stuff for? And then I worry about others that if they're on the side that wins, that they'll be kind of part of the triumphalism and feel like something has really been accomplished or everything has been accomplished, that evil has been knocked out because their side wins. When the truth of the matter is neither of those is true. All hope will not be lost. And on that day, nothing actually additional has been accomplished. And so it's kind of up to us to make sure that we hold people accountable to make sure the right things happen, but also are aware how our side could bring some negative things to the table. And so we're ready to fight them on that. And so that's my biggest worry. But the AND campaign is trying to put messages out there to let Christians know, hey, this is just one part of the process. Win or lose, you have to stay sober, and you have to say really attentive to what's going on and vigilant to make sure that we're helping those who will still be in need, win or lose, after this election.
Ooh, that is so good, sir, which leads me just to question number 2 in our conversation, and that is the elephant-sized question. So this is a twofold question. You can answer it either way. You can either address the elephant in the room, which is the thing that everybody sees that no one wants to talk about, or you can address the elephant-sized issue, so the larger-than-life, heavy, weighty issue, maybe that's bearing on most Christians. And so here is the question. The question is, what is the elephant in the room concerning Christians and voting?
Ooh, I think the elephant in the room concerning Christians and voting is, number one, are you going to vote, right? Is it something that you feel like you need to do? And if so, why not? And then the other one is who are you voting for, right? We all, that's the elephant in the room. Some people say it loudly and stridently, and some people don't want to talk about it at all. But what exactly does that say about you? Who do you have to vote for, right? Because there's some people that say you have to vote for this side or that side, or you're not Christian. And I just disagree with that. I think Christians should make the best decision that they can based on the policies and the history of the person that of the two options, but also based on their leadership. I don't think policy is everything. I think when you are the leader of the free world, what you say and how you interact with people and how you refer to people matters. And so weigh those things, make your priorities clear. But the vote is a big one, but it's not the whole of your public witness. So do the best that you can and move on. But I think who people are voting for and who they supposedly have to vote for is kind of the elephant in the room.
No, that's good. That's very, very good. It moves me to our next question, which covers authentic in the acronym. And so we want to be showing up as our most authentic selves. We know that our identity as Christians is in Christ. And so the question here is, how do Christians show up as their most authentic self, right? Standing on their values and their beliefs and their convictions in a conversation around politics with maybe people that they don't agree with? Whether they agree or don't agree, how do we show up as our most authentic self in those conversations?
That's a good question, especially in the context of Christianity. What is the authentic self, right? Because somebody could say my authentic self is just who I am racially, right? Or just who I am ethnically. And that may be part of who you are. I don't think that those are things we have to run away from. I think that is part of God as almost an artist of how he created us, and we can be connected to that. We can bring that to the table into conversations, and how the history of who we are has been treated, or the dignity of who we are has not been observed. And so I think we should pay attention to that. But we shouldn't go into those conversations kind of with an identity idolatry that we see sometimes, where who we are or how we're supposed to be in society, being that is what's authentic. No, I think when we go in a conversation, especially with other Christians who we disagree with, we also need to try to find that common ground. I mean, we read the same Bible, we have the same Great Commission, we have the same Great Commandment. We have a lot in common. I think too many times when we enter into tough conversations, we're always emphasizing the differences and don't take any time to emphasize what we have in common.
That's good.
I would also say that we need to enter into those conversations with a posture of self-examination rather than a spirit of self-defense, to where we're not trying to walk out of that conversation having everybody think us and our tribe are faultless, but really trying to get to what the truth is and how we can do better to make things better around us.
Listen, that identity idolatry thing. That's a whole, that, are you writing something on that already? I mean, cause that right there is a whole thought. Okay. So what is the real issue with voting on just the single issue? And we could just, the elephant, if a Christian is like, hey, I have to vote to the side that doesn't support or promote abortion, or doesn't support and promote or is pro life. You get what I mean? Like, so what's the real issue there with single issue voting?
Yeah, one thing I always say is I don't have a problem with people prioritizing something, to say, okay, whether it's abortion or race, to say this is my number one issue, or the one I'm paying most attention to this cycle. I think that makes sense to have a priority. The problem is when we put that priority in a vacuum. And when we put that priority in a vacuum, we look at that issue and raise it to a point where we look at it at the exclusion of other issues. We look at it at the expense of really examining other issues and seeing how those other issues may even play into the conversation that we're talking about. Mm-hmm. So if we're only looking at abortion in a vacuum, then we're not looking at maternal mortality rates, right? We're not looking at why women are in crisis pregnancies and feel like that's their best option. What cultural things are going on to make this something that seems popular or acceptable. When you look at something in a vacuum, it makes it a lot tougher to have a dialogue, because what also happens is that someone comes to you with their issue and you really just ignore it because you just want to focus on yours. Mm-hmm. And in doing that, you lose credibility. And I think that happens a lot with abortion. I think sometimes it happens with race too, on the other end of it. Mm-hmm. And so I think when we realize that other people's issues matter as well, we won't put our issue in a vacuum. We might prioritize it, but we won't put it in a vacuum to the extent that we're excluding a full examination of other people's issues, because that can come off as very harsh, or just callous towards other things that are going on. And so I think if we want to have a better discourse, we need to open it up and say, I'm not going to put it in a vacuum. There are other issues. And so my priorities need to probably be more than just one particular issue.
No, that's good. And I typically don't do this, but I would love for you to elaborate maybe on how does taking that perspective inform how we make more balanced decisions? So if we have priorities, but yet we should be considering other things in line, like that are coupled with our priorities, how do we make balanced decisions kind of moving forward? What is that tipping point, do you think?
It just means we have a broader analysis. And with that more broad analysis, we are able to see how many of the things that we're not even considering when we put it in a vacuum affect the conversation that we're talking about. How does race affect the conversation about abortion? Yes. Well, if you're not willing to look at race because you're so focused on abortion, then you're not going to see those connections. How does healthcare play into the conversation about abortion? You have to have a broader scope in that you're investigating in order to really deal with those questions and the issue that you care about in a way that's responsible, in a way that will be fruitful for you. And so I think at the end of the day, the one issue voter is almost hurting themselves on that one issue, because they're excluding other issues, they're excluding other people's concerns, which crushes their credibility and makes them have a very narrow view of society, which is a dynamic and complicated place.
That's good. That's very, very good. And hopefully that's a bit of encouragement and an action step, maybe for some of you who are watching, as you're thinking about all the things that Justin is sharing, the wisdom that he's kind of dropping, maybe being able to take that and apply it practically to your decisions kind of moving forward again this November 3rd and beyond. And so my last question for you, Justin, is this. It's my favorite of all 5 questions. It's the T in the Heart Convos acronym. It stands for transparent. When we are transparent, we allow people to see into the things that they wouldn't see unless we otherwise expose them. So that could be our boundaries, our expectations, our hopes, our dreams, our fears. And so for you personally and with the AND campaign, moving forward, transparently speaking, what will you do whether Trump or Biden wins?
Yeah, I think whoever wins, the AND campaign is going to try to hold them accountable. So let's just say, for instance, hypothetically, Trump wins. Then we really are going to be emphasizing the needs of immigrants. We're going to be even louder when it comes to that conversation. We're going to be even louder when it comes to how poor people are treated, how our leadership is responding to white supremacists and white nationalists and all these other people, making sure, pushing the church to stand up if our leaders aren't speaking in a way that shows that they acknowledge the human dignity of others. And if Biden wins, there's going to be issues as well. We're really going to have a conversation, especially within the Black church where I come from, about the sanctity of life and about how we need to stand up to the Democratic Party on that issue, about religious freedom and the Equality Act, and how that could really hurt a lot of Christian colleges and universities, or just faith-based in general, not even Christian, that could hurt the church, and we haven't paid much attention to it. So we'll be trying to draw attention to those issues, because we know regardless of who wins, there's going to be things that Christians need to address and ways that we need to stand up and hold people accountable. And if we just get too deep into celebrating it and being happy that the other side is out, then we're going to miss an opportunity to make the public square a better place.
Oh, that's really good. That's really good. Well, thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate you kind of diving in and dropping some really basic, practical nuggets and really some insight and wisdom behind the motive, right, of every Christian that might be leaning in to vote and to engage in political conversations in this upcoming season. If you enjoyed what you heard here today, you can always become a Heart Combos member and watch actually all the episodes from season 1 of the Heart Seat there. And yeah, if you want more information about things that Justin was talking about today, you can always go to andcampaign.org to find out more. And so thank you again for watching. I need you guys to remember, it's not a hard conversation, it's a heart conversation. Until next time, peace.